Hi guys, how's it going? How y'all doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I'm doing my build your own palette for winter. I think is what the title says, BYOP winter. So for the last couple months I have been working with the BYOP for fall, and today we're going to talk through the looks I was able to create with this, the shades that I used, and then whole new shades. So you'll go from me face to face to overhead, because that's how it is. I don't think that you need to see my face while we're going through all of my shadows, and it's always pretty fun doing it that way. So I hope that sounds like something you're interested in watching. These BYOPs seem to be pretty popular. I love doing them. They're so much fun, and I get a lot of usage out of my singles, which were kind of going untapped in my collection. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope that you keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high and colorful beauty and self-care. And ultimately, this is my self-care. I enjoy coming to you, talking to you about all things beauty coming in my collection, out of my collection, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the things. I do reviews. I do get ready with me's. I do project pans, build your own palettes, all kinds of things beauty related. And I hope that sounds like something you're interested in watching. And if it does, please subscribe before you go. I would love to welcome you into my fam here, and love to have you along for this journey. With that said, let's roll into this intro to the build your own palette for winter. All right, so that was an awkward intro. But today I am coming to you without this palette on my eyes, sadly, because I keep forgetting to record the intro for this video while I do have this on my eyes and talk to you about the existing build your own palette that I had for fall. I have to be honest with you guys, if I picked a color story, if I were doing a palette with a company, this would likely be the color story that I would go for my palette, because this is just a beautiful color story. I had a lot of fun with this palette. I did so many different eye looks with this palette, some from each row, and I also kind of mixed and matched on the rows. Listen, my sweet spot was this purple row and this green row. This was a little more out of the box, but I did love having like this navy in here to help really deepen up the outer V of any eye look that I went after. I really wish I had put in, with this purple, maybe just one more purple that was a matte and lighter than this one, but deeper than this one. I loved, honestly, the oranges in here mixed with this yellow and this green, this pop of green on the inner corner, this pop of green on the inner corner. Like, I used this palette so much, and I used it also in conjunction with the palettes that I was utilizing through palette roulette. I really had a good time with this palette. Most of these shadows are Sydney Grace shadows. So these two here, this one, these two, and this one are all Sydney Grace. I think these three are as well. All Sydney Grace. This one is a Natasha Denona. These two are Cleona, and this one is a Nomad one that I got from my friend Andy. These are beautiful shadows, and they all work together so dang well. So while I was talking about this, you likely got to see some eye looks that I was able to create with this palette. I really feel like this was my sweet spot. I didn't really have much in terms of like opportunities to share with this color story, meaning like they didn't work for me, or none of the shades worked for me. I feel like this one was kind of a shadow that really was just kind of a like add-on for no reason. It really didn't do anything to help the eye looks that I had, but it really was a great color for like blending out some of the deeper tones in this palette, including that purple. But it definitely didn't show up on my lid as a purple. It looks very lavender here even, but I feel like it just didn't show up like this on an eye look. So I used it to blend out the orange even at one point in time because it was more like almost gray toned white than it was lavender. So that one was Sydney Grace Petal. I also felt like this one was kind of hard to blend. This is Sydney Grace Crashing Waves. And I think it just has to do really with the color of it. But I don't necessarily think that it is the best navy blue that I have in my collection, which I think when I started using it, I really did feel like it was the best navy blue. I really don't feel that way anymore. I had to use this, and with this one specifically, because this one was kind of a non-color color in the makeup that I had going on in this build your own palette, I used this one often to blend with this one just so that this one didn't get patchy on my eyes. I did not have a great time with this color, but I do know that a lot of these Sydney Grace shadows in my collection are really old shadows. Now, that said, I do have some really old shadows in my collection that still work perfectly fine. I just know that, you know, from an indie perspective, they're maybe not using the same like preservatives and stuff like that that some of the bigger scale like ColourPop or whatever are using. And over the last year, I've decluttered a lot of ColourPop shadows as well because they just don't perform the same way. My favorites out of what I was able to use in the last, you know, several weeks with this palette are probably going to be this one, which is Twisted Shifter. This is a duochrome that I purchased from Sydney Grace, a purple to green, but you can see it looks super patchy there. It's not patchy though, but that is kind of a struggle that I have with a lot of duochromes, to be honest. Duochromes from like that I'm experienced with now are totally not that way. They don't look gross and patchy and kind of texture exacerbating on your, or texturized on your eye, I guess. These Cleona ones in here did not act that way. But I really did love working with the shadow. It was just such a really pretty purple. I also really loved this Nomad one here that I got from Andy. It was such a beautiful like topper, something just to kind of liven up an eye look. And I also really, really loved this green here, even though I felt like it was a little deeper than I wanted it to be for an eye look for like inner corner purposes, but I had so much fun with those shadows. That said, I am going to pull these out. I'm going to put them back into their designated spots. And then we are going to pull new shadows, a new 15 pan build your own palette full of shadows good enough for winter. And so when I think of winter, I'm thinking of like snow, and I'm thinking of like flurries, maybe some grayness, right? Some dark and dismal, like gray tones for like weather. I'm thinking of Christmas lights, almost like blues and whites. That's what I do. My Christmas, my winter. I don't like calling it Christmas decorations. Yes, I celebrate Christmas, but I don't like calling it Christmas decorations because if I call it Christmas decorations, then they need to come down the day after Christmas. So I call them my winter decorations, and my winter decorations are very blue and white and silver, which is what I deem my winter color story. But I also can see there being like some grays mixed in there and some maybe even a red and maybe even like burgundies mixed in there. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to look at some shades for winter color stories. And you know what? I just found out actually from a commenter in my comment section is that I likely have a whole lot more that are magnetic panned palettes than what I even knew. Like, who knew that Melt Cosmetics had magnetic pans? Let's try it. I went and grabbed the Fatally Yours palette. Who knew that Melt had magnetic pans? I mean, obviously, Somebody knew, but I was today years old when I found that out. But also, like, I now have some Ensley Rain in my collection. I also have, you know, Unearthly Cosmetics in my collection, and those also have magnetic palettes. So it's not just Natasha that has magnetic palettes. I should go through all of my palettes to see who else has magnetic pans. I had no idea that Melt had magnetic pans. Oh, and before we go, I always use these build your own palettes in a get ready with me of sorts. So I will link the video that I did utilizing this palette for my get ready with me. And then, yeah, let's just go have fun and pick some new shades for our build your own palette for winter. What are we doing for our winter build your own palette? I'm torn because this is the palette that I pulled in for my palette roulette, and what I see going into a winter palette is blues and grays and fun, odd shimmers. And I have a full palette of blues and grays and fun, odd shimmers to work with in palette roulette. So, and I know that I'm going to need to pull some shades out of other palettes. Maybe I'll just do a full-on winter shimmer shade menagerie. That sounds fun. I think that I could get on with that because there's a ton of these that I haven't used. But listen, I'm looking at all of these shimmers and I do think that I could full-on pull in a palette full of shimmers and just make that my winter companion palette. Let's do it. Shall we do it? Let's do it. I'm thinking this one right here, which looks like that. It's kind of like a purpley blue. That would look great with like grays. It would look great with blues. It would look great with purples. Oh my goodness. I think I want to pull that one in. And this is Sydney Grace Roaming Path. I think this one right here has been calling my name since I opened these. And I know that this isn't purple or blue or green, but look at how pretty that is. Like, I probably have 100 shades just like that. But that reminds me of like a fireplace, like the beauty of the flames in a fireplace. I think I'm going to pull this one in too. And I think to go with that one, honestly, I'm going to pull this one in because this one is by Hikari, I do believe. And I mean, look at that red. Those two look so good together. Let's do it. That one is a little bigger. It's a Hikari shade, so it's not like I'm going to pull it to the other side so that we can like maneuver in here. I think I want to pull this one in too. I think this is another one of those ones that will look good with purples or blues or greens. It is, I believe, ColourPop Glass Bowl. Yeah, and it has seen a lot of use in my collection, but I do want to pull that one in as well. I forgot to give you the shade name of this one is Strawberries and Cream by Sydney Grace, and then the shade name of this one I believe is Fierce by Hikari. And I think this one came in like a BoxyCharm or something like that. Is this like a matte? This one here? I could see this going really well with those two, but yeah, it's not a matte. I don't think I want to pull that one in though. It's just not as oomphy. I think I definitely want to pull in this one. This one doesn't look like it's been used in forever. And this is a beautiful like seafoam green. I think that those two actually look really good together too, with like a blue crease. Yes. Am I making a mistake by doing all shimmers? I kind of want to pull in this one. This one was from Andy and I think it's pretty. This one is Moonlight by Copacetic. What is this one? Look at that's pretty. Let's pull in that one. This is New Moon. It's a pressed pigment by Sydney Grace. I feel some kind of way about only bringing in shimmers. So I think what we're going to do is pick like a matte shade that can go with multiple shimmers. So we brought in this blue last time. Let's bring in this blue this time, because I think that this blue could go, let's see. I mean, this blue feels nice. Yeah, I mean, it maybe could go with that one. I just think that's maybe the wrong color of blue. Let's do gray and black, because gray and black go with anything. So I'm going to bring in this gray, which is Mind Blown by Sydney Grace. And it is just a gray. I don't love that. I don't know, maybe it's, oh, there we go. See how that looks kind of patchy? I feel like that was the same way I felt about this one. We'll pull it in just cause, and then see how we feel about it. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this project, this Build Your Own Palette series, is so that I could get more familiar with my single shadows. That black is phenomenal, so we'll pull that in. That is Let's Do It by ColourPop. That is an old shadow in my collection. I feel like that gray wasn't amazing, but it could just be because I put it over the top of an area of my hand I had just wiped off. It looks like it could be okay. Am I going to be sad that all I have is gray and black? Maybe. Who knows? I wish I had maybe just a red matte. What about this one? Yeah, I could do that one. This one is You Have Me by Sydney Grace. It's just a red matte. Okay, I'm going to scooch these down. This is going to come into the center. I don't want to have too many mattes. I have too many shimmers that I want in this. This is another shimmer that Andy sent me. That's a really pretty topper. It's just really super subtle, but I think that that would look really beautiful over the top of like that. Yeah, that's pretty. Let's bring that one in too. And I'm thinking this one right next to it as well. Winter reminds me of blues and reds and greens, and I hardly have any blues on here. I don't know that I like that one. I think this one might have a little bit of hard pan, so we're gonna pull the hard pan off that. I'm not sure I love this. This is Baseline by ColourPop. I mean, it is really old in my collection. I don't know that I love that. I need to change my battery. I had to wipe my hand off because I had to change my battery, so all of my swatches are gone, but that's okay. I'll re-swatch. I almost feel like if, like with this one that I was just doing, if I don't love it enough to bring it into a Build Your Own Palette, should it be in my collection? That is the question. So we're going to swatch it one more time. Like, I haven't bought anything from ColourPop in years. And I feel like it's just maybe, oh, I don't know, that is pretty. All right, we're going to put it in and see how we like it. It is really, really super powdery, and it is really super old, so it's pretty though. So we'll see how we like it. I also kind of want to bring in this one here because it's like Surprise and Delight. This is white, but also, bam, pink, purple. Pretty. And those two I think would look gorgeous on an eye look together, like snowy, like maybe with blue in the crease, but I'm thinking more like this blue right here versus like a dark blue. Oh no, not that one. Maybe that one? I don't know. I don't know that I want to bring in another matte. I mean, I really do want this to be a complementary palette. I am going to bring in this guy though. I'm gonna set that back down there. I do want to bring in some of these Cleona shadows though. Like I'm looking like right off the bat, I think this one and this one and this one. Those are the three that are really calling my name, but I have a feeling that this one might be too similar to this. Oh my God, that is so pretty. No, they're not. I mean, kind of. They are pretty similar. Like even looking at them down like this, they are pretty similar. They seem to have the same, but man, that Cleona one is so much more impactful than the ColourPop one. And like, duh, right? We knew that. Maybe instead of that one, let's look at this one. Yeah, that one's different. Let's bring in this one instead. These Cleona shadows are definitely underutilized in my collection. I also said I wanted to look at this one. Ooh, that one is super flaky. I think that one reminds me of like these two here and what could go well with those two shadows. That one is super flaky though. I'm not sure if that's the vibe I'm going for, especially when I have these two in here. Because this would just be over the top of like this instead of letting this one like stand on its own so that I could get a bigger grasp of how I felt about that shadow. So let's look at this one right here because this is the other one that I was thinking about. Oh yeah. It's got this like really beautiful purple. I know it's hard for you guys to see it, I'm sure, but like a purple blue. All you guys can see is the purple. That's so aggravating. Can we see it on my finger? Nope, just purple on my finger, but like up here, it looks more blue. I'm gonna pull this one in. I definitely think that that could be complementary to what else is going on in this palette. And then honestly, this one is Regal by Cleona. And I'm not sure, I think you can see a little bit of the blue there, but it just looks like brilliant purple. It actually is a blue to purple to pink, like shifty shade. This one is called Bloodline by Cleona. I really need to get like a different magnet than the one I was using last time, this one, because this one, I find like the shades magnetize to it and then they flip and then this digs into the shadow, which makes me mad, so I can't use it anymore. I'm thinking maybe this one too, but I do think that it's going to be awfully close to this because it looks kind of just like a lighter version of this. So I'm going to pause on that one. What about this one? Ooh, that's pretty. So green in the camera, and to me it's like a deep blue to purple to green. Blue to purple to green. And it looks kind of like sea foamy here. I think I want to pull in this one too. I really do feel like we need a blue, but I also know that there's not any more room in this palette. Oh my goodness. Did you see what I just did there? Let's fix that. Good as new. Just pressed it back together. Oh, that makes me so sad. This is what you get when you're screwing around with your eyeshadows. I do think that we can fit a blue there. So of the blues that I have, these two are these two colors. I do like this one better than I like this one, which is this color here. This I think is going to be too navy. That one we just had in, and this one is also too dark. I think we're going to go with this one. And we'll see. We maybe won't love it, but we'll see. That one is this one here. That just looks stupid in there, right? It's like beautiful shimmer shadow palette pop of blue. That's what it looks like. Because none of these that are actually blue look blue in the camera, which is crazy. All right, I'm going to move these and then we're going to swatch our new Build Your Own palette. Okay, before we swatch, let me just preface this with the reminder that this is going to be my winter companion palette so that I have fun shimmers and that kind of thing, and some mattes that can go with it for deepening up, or, you know, making something warmer, making something cooler, whatever that looks like. This definitely isn't a palette. I mean, truth be told, this just looks like I picked out shadows and shoved them into a palette and called it a palette, which is, I guess, what I did. I'm really sad that I accidentally stuck my spatula into this guy, but I do think that we have it fixed. Thank God those are more, I guess, moisture-rich shadows, so that they just kind of go back together. I don't have to get super technical with trying to repress them. So we're going to swatch it right here, and then we're going to get you out of here. I think I'm going to swatch all the fun, like, shimmers, and then swatch the mattes, like, next to them, so that we can see how well those mattes are going to play with all these shades. But this is already kind of a fun start. My arms are definitely dry. I need to put some lotion on because my skin is like lizard skin. So I've got all of the shimmers, and there are 12 shimmers out of these 16 pans. These are all the shimmers that I pulled in. So now from a matte perspective, we're going to do mattes over here. I kept the shimmers the mattes very basic, because we'll be able to, you know, make something a little bit cooler, something a little bit warmer. We'll be able to deepen something up with this, and like gray will go literally with every single one of these shades, I feel like. That is what we're looking at for color story. This again just looks like somebody like threw some shadows into a palette and called it a palette. And that is indeed what we did. But I do not necessarily think that these shades are winter. But I do think that these shades will be super fun to play with this holiday season through the lens of like fantastic eye looks. I can see like even some of these like going at the end of the day. Like when I look at this one, I do think that I will likely declutter that. Like, even though it looks super pretty in the swatch initially, like I'm looking at it on my arm and in this, and I just don't love it. I also, frankly, don't really love this one. Some of these are a lot thicker than I remember them being, like this one and this one, but they're so pretty. And this glass bowl by ColourPop isn't as amazing as I thought it was, or as I remember it being. So maybe I'll get rid of this one, or get rid of this one, especially since I have that Cleona one that looks so similar, but so much more impactful. So we'll see at the end of the day if I get rid of these. I cannot remember. I think that when I did my intro, which was days ago at this point, that I had elected to get rid of the navy, but I cannot remember. And if I did, I mean, obviously I'm going to rewatch it because I need to edit it. The whole point of me doing these build your own palettes is to familiarize myself more with my singles enough to know whether I actually wanted these singles in my collection or not. They are, you know, hugely underutilized in my collection, and I just forget about them because they're single eyeshadows. So this is going to be fun to play with anyways, and that is what I have. So I hope that you guys had a good time watching me like just throw singles into an eyeshadow palette. Let me know what you think about I would say the theme that I have going on this month, but I don't think that there's really not a theme. There's no rhyme or reason to this palette. But I would be interested to know your thoughts and opinions on how to make these work with each other, for each other, in an eye look, whatever it is. This truly will just be a companion palette for me. I'm really super happy that I didn't have to go to like Natasha Denona and pull out one of those shades, but also we maybe could have more semblance to this palette if that were the case. That said, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best that you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, being kind humans, and living your best life. And until next time, bye friends.